filling in, we're all in realtor time. Hi, Beth. Elizabeth's right there. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Yes? Anybody have good news, bad news, no news? No? Nobody has any good news?
Yeah.
Tell me, Sarah.
Katie
No. That's coming up on the panel.
I got you. Well, no, I'm having a great month. I haven't sold in 3 of May, so I'm having
Awesome.
right before I start my cap all over again, so it's really good.
That's good. What else? Somebody else tell me something good. Somebody from Ignite tell me something good.
Did my first open house this weekend.
Yay! How was it?
It was great. It was a little slow because,
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
I heard that.
I did have 2 people come through, and one, I think, may be a buyer.
All right. Best way to get buyers when you're new, Nina.
I went under contract with my highest new construction.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yay! And Marquise, how's your deal going?
I'm in contract with my
All right.
all cash.
Awesome. Woo,
I had to
awesome.
give them the sign. It's signed now. So inspection was Monday. It should be good. 10-day close.
All right. Awesome. So things are happening, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we've got a jam-packed team meeting, so we're going to move forward, if that's okay with y'all. Listen to that southern drawl of mine. Who would know I'm from Pennsylvania?
I was going to say, I know you're.
Not yet. So please turn off your cell phones because we know we're going to pay $50 KW Cares if it goes off during class. Our preferred vendor, Home Pro Barb, come on down.
I don't really look like Mel Selka.
No, you don't.
But
Well, we
I
don't
am
have your
raffling
picture.
a bottle of wine, so if you guys can pass this around and put your business card in, if you don't mind doing that while I chat. So Mel is still with the company, but we have so much to do that there's 2 of us doing this.
Oh, you're job
So
sharing.
yes, so it's nice. So I'm with Home Pro, the home inspection company, and you guys will all see at your spot are these realtor reference handbooks that we made. So our job, the way we see our job is to make your job easier. And in this, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but one thing that the realtors have really loved is there's a cost estimates for repair on page 6. So we did extensive research, which is helpful to agents. So you guys know what you're talking about. New first-time home buyer. How much does it really cost? Is it $50? Is it $50,000? So we have plenty of these that are free to agents. You all can call us at any time if you have any inspection questions or if you need any more of these booklets.
Those are great.
Yeah, aren't they great?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So again, I'm with Home Pro, and I hope you enjoyed lunch from TV.
Thank you.
And I don't know, do I have all the cards? You want me to do the raffle now?
Sure. Does everybody have their card out so we can give away a bottle of wine?
I think it's stuck right there. I didn't get very far.
Everybody put their card in?
All right.
All right.
All right, how about up front? You want to draw?
I'm new today, so.
Okay, you can draw. You can draw. Just pick one out.
The winner? Huh?
Just pick the winner.
Okay, it's the winner.
You're smart.
Don't say pick one.
Katie already used his phone, bro. I didn't bring it. I swear.
No, she rigged it. Her business cards are loaded.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to this one.
Thank you. Charlie, we have good news today or not so good news today?
My
What
name
do we
is
have today?
My name is Charlie Pollard. I'm a closing attorney, and I know I've been doing scary stories. No scary story today. It occurred to me it's probably been a few years since I actually told you anything about myself, other than I'm the guy that gets up and tells you a scary story once a week. So I'm just going to take a moment and tell you about me for a minute or two. So Charlie Pollard, I've been with the law firm for about 9 years. I grew up in South Carolina, but I've been in Atlanta for about 20 years. Went to Georgia Tech, got an engineering degree, industrial engineering, which I used to go to law school and get as far away from technology as possible. And I got into real estate. And this is really I went to Georgia State Law School. And I've got 2 kids, my wife and I, 7 and 6, boy and girl. that takes a lot of time and energy, of course. But in law school, I started in this business after my first year, a smaller firm than I work with now. But doing this is the only thing I've done for what year is it now? 14 years. So I've had the opportunity and the honor to be able to be the guy to give you scary stories once a week for about 4 or 5 years now. I can't tell you how grateful I am for that and for the support that the firm and I've gotten over the years. And if you hadn't had the chance to let me help you out or handle a closing, please give me the opportunity because I think I do a good job for you.
He does.
But it's Charlie at MMH Firm anytime, and it's 404-442-6604. Please, even if it's not a closing, I say this all the time, if it's not a closing that we're handling and you just need a second set of eyes on it, I'm happy to help you guys out. So that's all I got today.
Thank you, Charlie. I can't tell you the number of times an agent comes to me and says, I'm having this issue, and I say, who's the closing with? And it's not Charlie, and I say, call Charlie and let him put his eyes on it for you to give you a different perspective. And so we really appreciate that you do that too, because obviously we want to give you as many closings as we can. We're grateful that you're there to help us at a pinches if we're not closing with you, so thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Meet our team from Supreme Lending.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'm Kim Neely Akins, and I was just going to take a second to tell you things this week that have made your deals happen with Supreme. We do have investment property loans at 15% down, so you don't have to have the full 20%, and that saved one deal this week. We will also count the future rental income that the borrower will receive for that property as viable income. Self-employed, 1-year tax return waiver, that saved 2 deals this week. Relocations, closing on your client who's relocating here prior to them starting their job. We've had 2 of those this week where the customer wants to obviously own the home before they start their job, and they're moving here, so we will close the loan based on the offer letter before they even start their new job. 580 credit score. I had someone come to me that thought, well, Supreme only does good credit borrowers. Not true. We'll go down to 580, and we also have a credit simulator, so if you're not at a 580, we'll help you get to a 580. And we don't charge anything to do the credit simulator or the credit repair and the credit update. So bring us your deals, we will make them happen.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on Charlie. I got to speak highly of him for a minute. Charlie is a grill master. So, Red Day.
Take a few years, but you're finally there.
Red Day last week was awesome, by the way. Scott and I had a great time out there with the Fugees, and Charlie whipped it up on the grill. I swear, he probably had 1,000 pounds of meat on the grill. So, great job, Charlie. But so tomorrow is another Red Day. Scott and I will be out there again, and looking forward for anyone who can come out and join. So,
I, for the first time, got to go to the school. I had been to the event, I think 5 or 6 years, and never got to the school. And it was really, for those of you that were there, it was really something to sit and talk to the kids. And then when they came down, just to run through, and it's quite an experience. We were out there for about 5 or 6 hours, which felt like honestly 20 minutes, but it was awesome. And Charlie, yes, killed it on the grill. And I think
very impressive.
Those kids crushed.
They crushed.
They crushed. They crushed.
Yeah.
They ate, but
they had a great day.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that came to our class yesterday. We talked about basically keeping everything simple. There's so many tools and technology and social media and distractions in our world that we feel like we need to implement in our business, but we don't have to. We can keep it extremely simple, extremely basic, and if we just go about our weeks with intention, then it makes it so easy to be successful in this business as long as we just keep things simple and eliminate these distractions and do what we're supposed to do. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you learned a lot. And thank you again for all of your visits, all your referrals. You're definitely keeping us busy. So we definitely appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Kathy. We have a new segment to our team meeting, a slight broker's corner. Come on down. What are we talking about today?
A scary story. I have lots of scary stories. But does anybody not know me in here?
Kathy Woods is our compliance broker for anybody that does not.
Yeah, my role is to keep you out of real estate jail and help you get to closing. And Charlie is awesome because people call me up and say, I have a legal question. I'm not a lawyer. Today the topic is calling expireds and FSBOs. Anybody know what the rule is with Greg on calling them?
I have another question.
Answer.
Wait a minute. How many of you call FSBOs and expireds? Okay.
We probably know
This
it.
is a lot.
Show by owner.
Once you say it, we'll know it.
Okay. You got it, Sarah. Okay. What's your tip?
Okay, this is actually licensed law as well as code of ethics with the board, is we are not to solicit a listing already listed. So if you call an expired or a FSBO and they've relisted and they tell you and you keep going, guess what? You can get in trouble with the agent, the real estate commission, the board, and the sellers. So Dory was sitting in with me talking to another agent about it. And I know sometimes you call, I know you all have these systems that'll give them to you. They try to scrub the ones that have relisted, but they don't always do that because if the listing is not identically addressed and everything is prior when it may not be that. So when you call, please ask, have you listed your home?
That's your first question.
That's your first question. And if they say yes, then you say, thank you very much. Wish you well. I'll bring you a buyer if you have a buyer. You can say, if it doesn't work out for you, you've got my information, let me know, because I can't call you till this is expired. Never have any questions on that? I have had some complaints, not many, but we did get one. And sometimes it's the seller. I can say it was even a new agent. Really, I was not in this office. I was compliance broker in another office. And he was a new agent. He got a listing on the way to joining the office. This is one of those go-getters. But he was out talking to a neighbor whose house was listed. The neighbor started asking him questions about what would he do if he had the listing. What would you do if somebody did that? The rule is we are not to interfere with a brokerage engagement. So you cannot give them advice. If they call you and want to talk to you about listing their house, or they start asking you about what that agent's doing, should they be doing it, what would you do differently? What do you say?
This is why we're doing
this is why we're doing it.
Terminate your agreement with them and then
No, you can be trouble.
Ask your agent.
I have had best friends who didn't
Who
listen.
said it, Steph? Who said
Ask
it?
your agent.
Ask your agent.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the answer.
And you say, I say, but you're my friend. I understand, but it's a violation of ethics with the Georgia Real Estate Commission. It does say we're not to interfere with the brokerage engagement, and that means we're not to solicit houses that are already listed, and you are not to talk to somebody about what you would do differently and criticize that agent. Does that make sense? They call you up and want you to come talk to them about listing their house. You can do that. And when you go on the listing appointment, you cannot say anything about the other agent unless you're doing it or not.
And that's why it's listed. If they call you, if their listing is about to expire, you can go on a listing appointment with them. Do not badmouth or talk about the other agent at all.
Yeah, you just talk about what you would do.
Right.
There's one other thing I was going to say. Oh, a friend calls you up and they say, hey, call my friend. They are not happy with their agent. Would you call them?
No, you can always tell.
What would you tell that person?
If they want to talk to me, they can call me.
Exactly. And I've had that happen several times today. So, and you can keep after that person. Hey, they haven't called me. You can do that. Any questions? We are teaching contracts Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'll talk about
to the class. Does anybody in here know what paragraph 5 says? Paragraph 7 of the contract says? On Saturday, you'll find out.
When you're calling expired or put out by owners, if the first answer is no, I'm not listed, your second question is, do you have a listing agreement signed with a listing agent? Because they might not be listed yet, but they may have signed a contract.
If they say
signed
no,
a
you can go for it.
They've signed a contract. Thanks, goodbye, congratulations, whatever. If they haven't, go after it. Okay? Got it?
Got it.
Okay. And it is National Thank a Teacher Week. So we do want to thank all of our instructors that teach Ignite, all of our instructors that teach in class. We thank you all for helping the Market Center be the best Market Center we can be. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Can anybody do the Vice or for C2Ts? Because we've been through it once. Should we keep going? Should we keep repeating for like one more series? Okay. All right, Y4C2Ts, our belief system. Win, win, or no deal. Yes?
Yes.
How many times do you work a contract and the co-op on the other side does not agree with win, win, or no deal? Plenty, yes? Madeline, what do you do when you're working with a co-op agent that does not believe win, win, or no deal?
See if Nina will hear. No.
See if Nina will handle it.
Honestly, I just try to be as nice as possible and, remind them that we're here to facilitate a buyer and seller that want to eventually work a deal.
Right.
We don't need to get in the way.
Right. Do you hear how calm Madeline's voice is? Does she sound like she's Switzerland? Does she sound like she sits in logic? Does she sound like this is not money that's coming out of her pocket because she's not buying or selling a house? Now you all have to sit. You have to sit in logic because you know both sides are going to be emotional. And the co-op agent could be also. Okay. All right, so we're up to number 11 in culture, paying a struggling associate's tuition to a class that may impact the associate's productivity. Oh, thank you. So this does happen a lot when Bold comes around. We'll see somebody that maybe could really use Bold and can't afford $7.99, and an agent will come to us and say, we want to be a private donor for that person. We've done it in the past, from leadership also. So think about that. Who do you know that maybe could use Bold coming back up in August, or a class that we're offering here that there's a fee based on, okay? Helping other agents. Upcoming classes really quickly. Magical Mornings every morning, 8:45 to 11. Ignite continues, it continues Saturday with contracts. And then it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday from then on. If you need a reboot of anything, if you want to look at the calendar and say, hey, I want to go sit in on so-and-so's class, please do that. Take a look at the calendar. You can audit any class. Thursday, tomorrow, May 9th, Red Day at Cross Keys High School. The true Red Day, which is tomorrow. So those of you that didn't have a chance to come out and volunteer at Fuji Day, we would love to have you come out and help us at Cross Keys High School, 8 o'clock setup tomorrow. And we're working with the top 100 freshmen. And if you were here last week, you know the story behind it, that Cross Keys graduation rate is going down, and they're encouraging their students starting at the freshman year to stay in school, so we're going to help facilitate that. Friday at 10 and 11, Green Sheets and Dot Loop, one with Faye, one with Erin. Saturday, the Ignite Person Sale Agreement with Kathy Woods. It is an Ignite class. However, if you need a reboot to help you understand the contract, this is the class to be in. So if there's anything about the contract that you think, if it was a weekend that you were working on and you would need to call the agent or broker on call, come to that class. It probably would clarify that contract for you. Okay? Tuesday group coaching for PCs, how to keep the deal together, continuing on that vein. Wednesday, May 15th at 5:30, meet the Market Center. If you know of anybody that is with another brokerage that is looking to change, or somebody interested in coming into real estate, or somebody that has just gotten their license, please have them come to meet the Market Center. Have Lexi or Kayla give them their information and we'll reach out to them. Thursday at 1 o'clock, the overview of the Georgia property tax system and property with Hap Richardson. It is a CE credit class. Hap is an agent in our office and he specializes in property tax. So if you have anybody that just got their tax bill like I did in Cobb County, I have a ton of people emailing me saying, oh my gosh, y'all went up 20%. It actually went down a teeny bit. I was like, okay, come to the class. It's very informative and it's for CE credit. Monday at 12 o'clock, how to track your business with Aaron Lopez, Nancy Jameson, and Reagan Thorpe. Tuesday the 21st, the Mindset to Success with our very own Chris Williams. And Thursday, May 2nd, must be May 22nd. 22nd. Okay, ins and outs of investment properties, and that's a continuation of our investment series with a D. Okay, we're going on our summer schedule. And our summer schedule starting in June is every other week. So take note of this because we did change July because of July 3rd was right before our team meeting. So we didn't want to have nobody in the room. So these are our team meetings June through August. Okay, and it'll be on our calendar. And our cappers for the month of May. Alrighty, so here are our cappers. And while we congratulate everybody on this list, we do like to make a special announcement of first-time cappers. And that would be Katie Staples and David Stone. Again, Red Day tomorrow, 8 a.m. setup at Cross Keys High School. We will send out the map on where you're supposed to park. Evidently, we're going right back to the field. You don't have to go into the school to register. And if I could have our panelists come on down. Come on. Come on. Come on. Nina, come on.
Oh, I am future teller.
Yes.
I I'm like, you're an answer.
I knew that you would not have jury duty, so I had them put your picture
I'm over here typing them.
Okay, so did JD email that? Okay, all right. So, you're good. You're good. So, it's May 7th. How many of you think the market is shifting? Raise your hand up high if you think the market is shifting. There's a correction in the market. I know you do. Okay, look, the panelists even say it. Okay, so the reason for this panel is obviously success leaves clues, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought it'd be a really good idea from agents at every level that are succeeding to give you some tips on what they're doing to be successful in a quote-unquote shifting, correcting market, okay? All right, so we're just going to go down the line first, and we're going to introduce ourselves, and I want you to tell me either, and I did not prep them, so I apologize. So, yeah, take it out, have a heart attack, sorry. I'm just going to ask you questions you know the answers to. Okay, so the thought process is, so, for instance, Katie Staples. Say hi.
Hello.
How long have you been with the Market Center?
yeah, finally.
Capper?
Oh my goodness, last year I missed it by $77, so I'm really excited. That's why this is a very big deal. What is the question?
How long have you been with the Market Center?
Almost a year and a half.
Almost a year and a half. And how long did it take you to cap the second year?
2.5 months.
Say that a little louder.
2.5 months.
Louder. Okay, so that's impressive, yes? She capped in 2.5 months. Yes? Okay. How many closings did you have in April?
7.
Say it louder.
7.
7. Success leaves clues. We're going to talk to everybody about how did you get 7 in the month of April. Okay, Reagan Thorpe is next. I'll just introduce y'all because I know y'all. Okay, Reagan, how many closings have you had since the beginning of January?
Well, I know first quarter I had 16. 'cause my
Okay,
goal
there you
was
go.
15.
Okay, that's fine. First quarter, 16. She had 7 in January. Okay? So 7 in January means that she was working her butt off fourth quarter last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because success leaves clues. She worked her butt off fourth quarter last year to have 7 closings in January and 16 first quarter. Do you know what your number is for first quarter on closings? I mean, I just like there are whole pages for the suits team. I can't even count them. There's so many.
I think it's, the first quarter?
First quarter.
We're about 65 now.
Okay, and my bad, again, guys, I didn't prep them, and that's my bad. So 65
But we
closings.
should know our numbers. So.
Okay. It would have helped if I had prepped you, because next time I ask you, you're gonna say no, unless you send me a prep form.
Right.
So 65 closings, how big is your team? How many members of your team?
Madeline and myself,
Mhm.
we have 4 buyer's agents.
Okay.
We have one.
I know, but
Okay.
4 full-time buyer's agents. Sarah is our EA, most wonderful person in the world.
Yeah,
And we have a listing concierge and a listing coordinator.
okay. Did you hear the number they've closed in the first quarter? Okay, so would you like to find out how this is happening? Okay. What do you do on a regular basis to get business?
Agent rate. Is that what you want us to say?
No, I want everybody's different. Everybody's different. You know, how long have you guys been in business, Nina and Matt?
Almost 18 years.
Okay, okay. Would you say that a lot of your business comes from people calling you?
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to get to have that kind of business?
Yes.
What do
I
you?
want more people to call me.
I got you. I got you. Okay, so what do you do to create that kind of work environment that people are calling you?
Give them beyond exceptional service.
Write that down. Write that down.
We make them feel like they are the only person that we are focused on 24/7, and we make it very clear to them that we want them to be a client for life. And that it's not just one transaction. So we have absolute concern and care about their financial investments.
Okay. How many deals are you working at one time? Just give me an average. Because you make every client feel like they're your only one.
It can be anywhere from 3 to 10.
Yeah, per person.
And they make every client feel like they're their only one. That's huge. That statement is huge. Because if you've had more than one, you've got balls up in the air. Working with 3 to 10 at one time, that's an art. How do you do
And
that?
I was going to say, we couldn't do it without we couldn't do the quantity and give the quality without the team.
Okay.
Because it's leverage.
Okay.
But I think everyone truly cares about the client and them being beyond satisfied rather than, I mean, we're never ever thinking about the end result, like relying on getting the paycheck at closing. Like that's just kind of icing on the cake if it happens. And I think,
I would say 9 out of 10 times I don't even know when it's closed. I mean, truly, I have no idea when it's closing. And like when someone will call and they'll be like, what's this and such date? I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea. I don't check any of that. But right or wrong, you can call it whatever you want, but I really make myself accessible all the time to people. So, I mean, you can say that, that's not a good balance or whatever, but
that works for you.
That works for me.
I also think one thing that we're really trying to we're focusing on for the whole team in the business, as you've got all the iBuyers coming in and the open door and the knock, what's going to differentiate yourself? Like, why would they go with you crazy, but just what's one little thing that we can do that's gonna make it better, that's gonna make us better as a whole for our clients?
What is the communication? You're like, is there a certain person that reaches out on a different day, and how often do you reach out to them?
So whoever the lead is talking to them at a minimum once a week, but it's usually more than that. And then depending on what stage they are in is who they're having the main point of communication with. But there's never, and I'll be completely, I mean, if a listing doesn't sell, oh God, yeah, I mean, trust me, it is not my favorite thing to communicate with them, but yeah, I mean, I literally, Sarah sends us a reminder and says, have you touched base with these people?
And that means call them.
That means
Because
you need
we
to
are
call.
always texting and emailing, but it's literally like pick up the phone and have an actual conversation.
And usually once you have that call with them, it's fine. It's a lot more anxiety leading up to the call that you think they're gonna say something, so, Jenna?
Do you specifically ask for a referral? Because, you know, clearly your business is a referral now, so do you specifically ask, and when does that conversation happen?
During the buying and listing appointment.
What happens? What do you say, like a referral?
Just the way that you came to us, we would hope you would turn around and do the same. You're not gonna see my face on a billboard, because I'm spending time with you, so therefore I need you to be the sales and marketing team that's out there for us.
Did you notice when she said she asks them for that?
Yep.
At the initial conversation, if you wait till the end, what are they getting ready to do? Either move into a house or move out of the house, and that's when they're busiest, yes? So are you gonna have trouble maybe reminding them to give you referrals? You bet.
Well, and I'll add something, depending on who, if you've got a transaction coordinator that's working with you, if you're closing with Charlie or whomever, I also think having a good strategy in place so it's not always you asking for the business. So if you've got your lender that they, you know, they've been great, they're working with the buyer and they can say, oh man, Jenna, she's the best buyer's agent out there. You are in such good hands. So it's also nice for someone else to build and kind of solidify in your buyer's mind that they've selected the right buyer's agent to represent them. And they can also say, you know what, she's done such an outstanding job. The greatest compliment you could ever give her is to refer her. And so it's coming from someone else too.
And if you have a win with them, like they're really, really happy about something, that's also a time to say, well, you know, greatest compliment you can give me is send me somebody else who you know is looking to buy or sell. I don't make generic calls that say that. I only do it when I think that I can warrant asking for it.
So if you've got a buyer, or if you have a listing and you've gotten through inspection, everybody's happy.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's a good time.
That's a really good time. If the appraisal comes back for your seller and you don't get the amendment to lower the price, that's another really good time, because now your client's happy it appraised. They don't know what it appraised for, and that's fine. They just know that, guess what, they're not going to get that notification.
Your ultimate goal is that when someone leaves the state, that they ask you to find someone just like you. I mean, if I had a reporting of how many clients are like, Madeline, how do we find you in Baltimore? How do we find you in Texas? That's what you ultimately want. If they don't feel that connection to you, then you probably didn't. I don't care how good you did the transaction. You weren't memorable. Kind of like photos in a house. You have to be memorable.
Yeah. And you didn't develop a relationship. What's the first thing that Gary said at Family Reunion this year? He said, real estate is all about relationships, and I've said that for years. It's not about brick and mortar, it's not about the house, it's about the relationships you're building with your clients, and you build great relationships because they ask that question. Yeah. Reagan. Okay, so success leaves clues. So we know that you work a lot.
She does.
Right? She does. And you put 100% effort into your business. Okay, so what do you think your 16 transaction as an individual agent comes from? in the first quarter?
I mean, it's funny because when you were saying that we need to lead generate and then people just call you, I feel like I'm like right there because I feel like the last 6 months that people have just been calling me right and left, you know. I've been still doing my lead generation and, you know, I feel like that's, you know, when the market shifts that has to be in place because I'm gonna survive. I'm not gonna be one that, you know, falls to the wayside. So that has to be in place, but that is, you know, just constantly reminding people of what I'm doing and that I love what I'm doing and I want to help them too. It's just kind of, you know, solidified in their minds so that they'll call me and
When do you tell them
tell them what?
or ask them?
For
During the
business?
process, yeah.
A current client? Or, yeah, I do it at the buyer's or listing appointment as well. You know, I tell them that, you know, my number one goal is that they'll be, you know, 100%, more than 100% satisfied and that, you know, they'll tell all their friends and family because I know those are the people that they truly care about and that my goal is to get a 5-star rating on Zillow and, you know, that my business is based on referrals and that I value that so much. So, yeah. And every single time someone calls me, I send them a Starbucks card, you know, and say thank you. And then when it closes, I send a $50 Starbucks card or $50 like whatever card, restaurant or something like that. This one guy, oh my gosh, it took me, I think 5 people had to tell him that I was the person for him, and he listened to all 5, but he was one that like took him forever to make decisions and was like second guessing everything. He went through like 3 lenders. So I had to send like 250 gift cards out because I wanted to thank everyone that we closed and that they went to bat for me. But
Okay, and Katie, what are you doing to get your business? Because you're new in Atlanta and you're new to the business here.
I make a lot of phone calls and I hold a lot of open houses. And I think that this year is a major product of work that I put in last year.
Okay, talk
So
more about that.
things are finally coming to fruition. Like I think last year I held like 35 open houses. And if you come in the door, I'm going to get your information and I'm just going to bug you until you buy a house with me. So I really think that's going to happen. So that was a closing April 1st. I met them last March at one of y'all's open houses.
Yes.
Thanks for letting me hold that. So things will eventually come to fruition. I just keep in touch and I check in. But I think what has helped the most is I intend to show them that I really care about them. And I want to know, like, what is your family? Like, what's going on with your family? Do you have kiddos? If you have fur babies, I'll like super relate to that. And I like will write down in the database everything that I know about them and then check in over time. And I mean, I don't have kiddos or anything else to really care about, so like I care about my people. So I think that keeps them really hooked.
Don't you think your high level energy also helps?
Sometimes it scares people. So for the most part,
Yes, they want.
I think that for the most part, yes.
I mean, I would say that because I was never quite as energetic as you were. But you are very direct and whatever, and I think people gravitate toward that because ultimately people want to be led. However, though, I will tell you, do I think Shannon, who is much more calm than I am, does a better job of getting referrals during the transaction than I ever did? Because people wanted me and all of me and didn't want to share me. Where Shannon, they're like, oh, well, she can handle them and them and them and them because she's calmer.
That makes sense,
So
yeah.
that's just, I mean, I think people love you and want you, but not always will always share you. So
That's fair. Okay, yeah, that's
keep
fair.
that in mind.
Well, I stop drinking coffee before I go on listing appointments.
You don't drink your energy drink before you go on listing appointment?
Yeah, Dory has to tell me before I go on them to ask me if I had caffeine throughout the day. So there's that. So that's been one very helpful tool. And then I learned to leverage, so now I do Get You Live with Churchwell, so that saves a whole morning of uploading things, because I would upload things in FMLS and GAMLS separately, so that took a whole day of lead gen. And then Contract to Close, I finally unclinched. And I'm like, oh, okay, $375, I'm good now. But before I was like, no, I'm not spending any money. That's silly. But now it's great.
Okay, so Katie's an individual agent with Virtual Health. Reagan is an individual agent. Ronnie is her rock star assistant. And of course the Suits team has a team and Sarah's amazing. So you would all agree leverage is important, or you couldn't do your job as successfully as you do. Okay, so those of you that sit in scarcity as opposed to abundance, you have to understand that you want to work in your 20%, which is you going and getting the business, and let somebody else take care of the 80%, which is your leverage, which is what they're talking about.
It's not about the money.
Right.
It's about the fact that if you give it away, you actually might have to do your job. And the truth is, we are notorious for doing other team members' jobs because I don't want to do what I actually need to do. So it's a lot easier for me to be like, oh, I'll respond to the email quicker, and I'll do that because then I don't have to make my call. So it's not about the money, it's that you actually don't want to do what you need to do.
Okay,
You have the money.
mic drop, we can stop the meeting. There you go. I mean, that's pretty much lead generation.
Let me
You're
tell
gonna-
you something.
Go ahead, Ray.
This is so bad to be told Ronnie the chef. This weekend, I had a dream that I couldn't wait to get to work to lead generate. And you know where that comes from? Is my affirmations.
I was gonna say.
Because I've been saying them for 3 years, and we've set aside 9
They're
to 11.
working. Tell us. What are they?
She's finally believing them.
Well, I dream it too, but I don't put it to action.
I just thought that was so funny.
That's great.
I mean, I don't think that I always feel that way when I sit down to do it, but at least the mental thing is there. So, for sure.
Okay, so Katie, talk about lead generation.
I love to lead generate.
She's probably the only one in the room.
No, I actually really, truly love it. I don't have to say it because I really do. I really like to make phone calls. Shocker, I like to talk to people. And actually now it's shifted from, I used to love open houses more. Now I really actually love, like this morning, I was sitting right there, my feet were propped up, and I had my dialer. And I was sending emails, and it was just boop boop, and I got 18 different connects. So most of those will get a handwritten card, and we'll be followed up.
Who were you dialing?
It was around a listing that I haven't done already.
Okay.
So I use
Circle
Mojo.
prospecting.
Mhm. So almost all of my stuff will be circle prospecting for an open house or for one of my listings.
What does your script look like when you call them?
Hey, or which for which one?
Circle prospect.
Oh, this morning. Okay, so I'm calling all the Dunwoody neighbors to let you know about a new listing that we have in the Fontainebleau neighborhood. Who do you know looking to move to the neighborhood? I can invite you to come see the home. Typically, oh, no one. And then I'll be like, what are your, what real estate plans or goals do you have that I can help you with? And they'll say, oh, you know, we're going to live here for another year or two. And I will write it down, and I'm going to call you every month for another year or two until you want to sell your house. And it will happen.
You invite them then to the open house?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, if there's an open house that we're holding, for sure. But that's just like the quick and dirty version of it.
And then you make note of it. So you can send them a handwritten note.
And I typically will ask for an email address. I'll give any excuse to get their email because then they're going to go on my 8x8 and my newsletter. So it's like, oh, well, can I send you this listing in case someone pops up, and I get their email address and send it to them. But really, you're going to go in my e-edge and go on a campaign.
Or command.
All of them.
Okay. So
And
we're
for sale banners, I really like that too.
So what does that call sound like?
It's good energy.
I really like for sale banners. I have never done expireds, but FSBOs are free on Zillow, so there you are. Jennifer Barnes and I, by the way, have a really nice one coming up in Morningside next week. If anyone has any buyers for Morningside, but that was the first one.
Really?
And I was like, I freaked out, so I was like, oh my gosh, because it has a big first number, and so I asked her to come with me, and we got it.
Is that the second one that you got?
Yeah, I was going to say that's the second one.
Smart thing to do.
Yeah. Brittany.
Awesome. Sarah has a question. My arm was
I was
longer.
gonna say something that I admire about Katie when it comes to FSBOs is her, number one, she's got a spreadsheet, so I tried to get her to send me that spreadsheet. She's like, just put this together. Anyway, she has a spreadsheet. She keeps all her FSBOs in there. She literally keeps track of every single contact that she has with them and continues to call them. And so that statistic that says, you know, it's the 8th or the 12th call that gets you the deal, she's going to be that 8th or 12th time call that gets her the deal. And that's where a lot of her deals have come from, was from FSBOs. And so that's what impresses me about that. And so I'm like, I need to put that into motion so I can do the same thing. I tend to do that with my follow-up calls. So like my first-time buyers, that's why I have a lot of buyers, is because I call them continuously and they remember me. But in her case, she does that with her FSBOs, and she's very strategic about it.
So she's always the last man standing.
Correct.
I also never asked for an appointment the first time I talked to them.
So tell us more about that.
I never ask them for an appointment. I just ask home questions about their home, where they're moving to, and I write all of it down because then they're gonna appreciate if I'm like, oh, so how's little Jimmy doing after his cold or something, you know, something like that. And the next week I will call you, ask you how traffic has been. I know that it hasn't sold because you're doing it for somebody on her. And then I'll send you a handwritten note with my card in it. And then the third time, a lot of times they're like, okay, I think we want you to come talk to us. I'm like, yes, thank God.
So you don't ask for it, they ask for it.
Now, could I get more appointments if I did ask for it? Probably. However, I feel really, really good if they say, hey, come talk to us.
What's your first conversation initial script?
I look for questions to ask. So like on Zillow, sometimes I'll know there's an HOA, but they haven't listed that. Zillow always rounds up for the number of bathrooms. So I'm like, hey, is it a true full, 3 full bathrooms or is it 2.5? And they're like, oh, it's 2.5. Oh yeah, Zillow does that. So I kind of like make Zillow not look great. If they mention something like a great backyard, you know their pictures aren't good. So I asked them to send me pictures of other things that they've talked about in there that they don't have good pictures of. Yeah. And then the second time I'll ask, you know, oh well, hey, do you have a seller's disclosure? And they're like, what is that? I'm like, God, you so made me. So then I ask them what their email is so I can send them a blank one and just add items of value. And then by that point they're like, oh, you're the lady that doesn't keep harping us for an appointment. You're probably nice to work with. And I am. And I'll get it done.
Yes. Okay, tell me what you're seeing in the shifting market.
Buyers taking longer time to make an offer.
Okay.
Make a decision.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Nina.
Courtney being one of them.
It is condition and price, not only price.
Yeah.
So they're looking for turnkey, they don't want to do anything?
Not a
Millennials?
thing. Not a thing.
Speaking from our people.
At all. Not one thing. And I think no matter where your house is, no matter what the price is, you either will sell in 7 days or you're going to sit. In every area, every price point.
And that's dependent on condition and price.
Condition and price.
So I feel like the sellers are trying to go too high and
Yes.
you know keep riding it up, and it's not like
It's not them.
I've had a lot of price reductions, and one person just called Zillow and sold to Zillow. It was like a quick closing date. It's like you took like a $60,000 hit on your price. Do you know that Zillow is buying these houses at 7.5%? If there was only one agent, and they're not representing the buyer or the seller.
So I was on a luxury call yesterday with Brady Seanable, and I thought this was fascinating. You probably need to be prepared in this market, especially at higher price points, to tell people that they should take their house off the market. And what you need to say, jokingly, is, the good thing is I'm not retiring. So when we decide it's time to go back on, I will be here to do that. But there are some things that are flat out not going to sell for the price that they want at this very moment. And you need to realize that and not burst their bubble if that's not ultimately what they want. Because you're going to waste a lot of time and money and effort if they actually really don't want to sell. And then our coach told us yesterday, you have to know their B. They have to know, if they don't know where they're going or they don't know what they want to do, you're never going to make A happen. Because they don't know what they want, and their uncertainty about A, selling the house, whatever it is, cannot come to fruition because you haven't helped them get clarity on B.
And B is where they're going.
Or whatever it is.
What's the next step?
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, maybe it's not they're going somewhere, financial, whatever it is. But if they can't answer you very clearly what that is, you cannot make A happen for them.
Just why do they want to sell their house?
Yes. What is the ultimate reason of why they're doing it? Because this is not the market that we're going to try.
No.
So when do you say that? Like if it's time to take it
reasoning for not even accepting a deal?
He would not look at it, he wasn't gonna lose money on the house that he bought. He owned it outright with.
So how could he lose money if he owned it outright? Just
Because he
asking.
thinks it's lower than what it's worth.
Yeah, Joe.
So should they, I mean, why would they even put the house on the market? You know, if you're in a situation like that, you know they're not gonna sell because they don't know where they're going. I mean, how did you get the deal to start with?
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. I have people, we've already sold them a house. They own a $1 million+ house outright. They're not in a rush.
So they just wanna sell it just to,
Well, I mean, they're doing some work on the new house.
oh, I see.
And so, I mean, if you have enough money, you're not gonna give it away.
True.
I mean, Tracy Setlich has a client that they've been out of a house that she has for $2 million+ for 6 months. I mean, and I don't care what it, I mean, we have one we put on the market and they are making 60% in 5 years. That's how much money we're making. 60% return on their money in 5 years. And literally, they basically said we had 30 days to sell the house, and if they sell it, they're gonna move to Peachtree City. If they don't, then they'll enroll the kid at St. Martin's and they'll stay for another year or two. House went under contract yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but we hem-hawed over like $5,000 and a home warranty.
On what list price?
$799. And trust me, last night I was like, oh, sorry. I'm like, I will just get the home warranty. And I literally was like, I texted him and I said, it's $725 and you're not giving them one appliance or your fabric window treatments or anything. That never happens. That's what I texted him last night.
What'd they say?
He signed it.
Katie, what are you seeing with multiple offers?
Now, so I've had 2 listings that over the weekend we've had multiple offers, but those price points were $175 and $350. So I put one up in Dunwoody last week that I was like, oh, I mean, I don't need to have 4 and 6 like we had, but like 2 would be really good. Crickets all weekend. So I think that it depends on price point. But that being said, the one that Barnes and I had last month went under contract very quickly. And one we couldn't take because it was a reload and they can't take a contingent offer. So that one, I guess, counted as 2, but we couldn't accept it. So I don't know. I told you all that because my answer is I don't know.
That's okay.
That's
very valid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes you have to realize, I don't know why that house sold and that one didn't. I don't know why we put one on at $275 that should have flown off the market and it didn't.
Oh wait, I think I know. So I think I know. Those 2 in particular were strategically underpriced. So their house, the one in Decatur, would have been worth $180. I would have been really happy to get $180 for it. So I told them, let's price it at $175. And they're like, oh, it's $5,000 less than we want. And I'm like, just wait their strategy. Trust me. So we're up to $185. And then, and that appraised, thank God, because I was a little concerned. And then the one in Marietta, they purchased it in August, so now they're being reloaded, so they bought it for $355. So it took a little while to convince them to list it at $350. We just got an offer we were under contract, they terminated, so now we're back under contract at $360. So if you can strategically underprice it at those big price breaks, that's what has been helpful.
Brady said that as well. That if you're either, this is the number or you need to underprice it. No one wants to hear that.
And go to that number. I think this is just me. Go to the number that is going to be a big sliding scale or drop down online where people are looking. Like if I have a couple, they're looking up to $350. So I look for $300 to $350 in this area, right? If it's $299, $999, I'm not going to see it because I'm not putting in $29999. I don't know. So I always do whole numbers.
That's why we always look at the hard price points when we list. Katie, how about multiple offers on the buyer side?
oh, you just have to be nice to them and figure out what the sellers want, and then you write it in the contract. I also don't show at the very, very top of buyers' price points, especially if I know they need closing costs. So there was one where no other agent knew what an escalation clause is, and I'm like, you're going down. So we won that one because we were willing to pay up like a whole bunch more. But it helps when you have a good lender that can close quickly. That's typically very important to sellers. And it helps when you're not looking at the absolute highest level for your buyers, because that way when they fall in love with one, my people could go to 225. We found one that was listed for 210, and we did an escalation clause up to 220 because they wanted that house, and they're getting it for 212.
So you're pretty strategic.
I also feel though, when it, like, and tell me if you see this too, is that buyers will say like the very top that they want to go to is 225, but then if the perfect house comes and it's like 235, they're willing to go to 225.
I'll ask the lender, what are they actually comfortable with a monthly? And then confirm that that's the situation. I don't know if that's true.
I will say too, on the listing side, the escalation is great, but I don't honestly always look at the escalation or I mean, if somebody comes in, if you've got 10 offers, but you've got one person that came in $25,000 over the list price, and you've got everybody else at the list price plus a little escalation clause of $1,000. No, I like the person that's got the clean offer, no stipulations. They went for the gusto. They were willing to do the $25,000 done.
I also don't, if you do not fill in a price and then you put in escalation and up to a top price, I don't want anything to do with you either. And if you call me all the time, I'm flat out not going to co-op with you. I mean, you drive, I'm thinking, oh my God, if you've called me 60 times in this period of time, I'm sure as heck not going to co-op with you for 45 days.
Right.
I'm not going to do it.
Do people not fill in the list price number on the
Some will
contract?
say see stipulation.
Oh, that's annoying.
And
I always write one in that's slightly above list in case they don't look
I'm
at
with
the
you.
escalation.
Like we got one yesterday that was, oh my God, I don't know what it was. 50 or 60,000 under, but then they gave the escalation up to what was 60 higher. I was like, oh, I'm not even. That's crazy. I'm really like, you basically, it's kind of an insult to the seller, in my opinion. But I will tell you, I can convince a seller based upon a co-op not to pick you on, and it might not be price, based on how bothersome you are.
That's fair.
But like, there was a girl that I did find this fascinating. She did send, and I should have saved it, maybe I did, but she did say, why would it be great to work with me? And it was like 6 things. And I was like, wow, that's great. And I could choose to read it or not read it. Trust me, you get 8 or 9 offers. I don't even read your fluffy letter, but I'm with Nina. You got to go for the gusto and make it as clean as possible, and then just, be informed, you want it, but just don't go over the top, and also don't be the first. The worst thing that can happen to you is if you call and you make it out like things aren't great because you're thinking you're going to wheel deal, and the next you know you find yourself in a multi-offer situation. It's the first thing I remember is there were things you said you didn't like about the house. Also, do not have diarrhea of the mouth about your client, because we have probably had more than enough sellers that have chosen based upon a feeling, not a price. So based on the fact that this agent told me that the husband loved it but the wife didn't, we did not choose them because my clients didn't sell that house for a year because my wife wasn't willing to part with the house because she had such an emotional connection to it. So the emotional bond is sometimes much higher, and they will pick less money over the bond. So don't always think your money wins.
I would think it's also, on the buy and sell side, it's what's going to make it look like you're actually closing.
Yes.
Like you need to look like I am getting through due diligence.
Yes.
Like, I've added in there, I'm not going to ask for repairs.
Right.
Like if we find something crazy, like in one home we found really bad mold, so we asked for closing costs, but this was an elderly couple that was moving out. They didn't want to coordinate repairs, so I wrote in the STIPs, no repairs will be asked during due diligence.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are y'all seeing when, I know you had this happen earlier, Katie, when you've got multiple offers and, you know, everything's kind of even, and then you get one that's way up here, but then they cancel. I'm seeing those ones that throw that just lob out there. I'm seeing a couple of them cancel. Is that something that y'all are seeing? Has that always happened, or is that something that's more recently happening?
I had one this weekend, and we had 6 offers on this house in Winder. And it's so funny because my 3 that are top, they're like top dollar, they're sitting. And that one, he said, I want 215. I said, let's do 200 and let it go up itself. And we had 6 offers. But the one outlier was 215. And I told my client, I said, you know, someone told me once, a lot of times people will offer what they can't afford. And, you know, he was putting 0 down because it was a
USDA loan.
Yeah, but the one that wanted to do 20%, you know, is the one we went with, and they were up to 210. So, you know, I just say,
I just
and is it going to appraise?
I just look at all of the factors that necessarily the dollar amount, and I do explain to clients right up front that the worst thing that can happen is that we terminate. And I always desperately try, if you have more than 2, 3, to get someone to immediately be impacted. So there is no, I got to go back on the market.
Anybody else have any questions from this fabulous panel? Are you seeing many of your transactions falling apart during the transaction? Are you keeping them together?
Not many, but I've seen a little bit more of a slowdown lately. I think they're holding now.
Okay. Longer to offer.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Do you think they're longer to offer because they're waiting to see something else may come up on the market?
Yes.
That and looking for perfection.
Yeah. And they're hoping you'll reduce.
Okay. So then when you go into listing appointments now, you're telling your sellers what you're seeing. Are they believing you that we need to look like the pretty penny and the beauty queen before we go on the market, or are they resisting still?
When I show them proof, they believe it.
Both. Again, some people are very resistant to doing work. I mean, I for sure thought I had listing.
Okay, sounds good.
And they listed with someone because she said that they didn't have to do anything.
How long has it been sitting?
Oh, no, it went right. It's sold.
Really? Interesting.
Because she also underpriced it.
So anything can sell for a price.
You got it.
Right. Reagan, what are you saying?
Well, I always tell, I mean, people are pushing, sellers still want to list at top dollar, but I tell them, I'm like, you've got to do all the hard work. I'm going to be working hard marketing. You need to work hard and get this house in amazing shape because everyone is being really picky about what they want. You know, and I have one guy, he needs carpet and paint and, you know, I'm like, okay. We've already done 2 price reductions and, you know, he's like, what are you doing to bring bodies to my house? You just pissed me off this week. I've said it like 3 times.
Say,
But
you
anyways,
need to tell me your
I've got-
house is not helping the cause.
Well,
here.
yeah, I don't have that.
Your house is not helping the
No, I
cause,
keep bringing
guys.
up, when you look at these houses, they're painted, they have new carpet, you know, but I've called all the agents that have in reverse prospecting and saying, hey, you've got a buyer that fits the search, and a couple of them made appointments, but when I get that feedback, it's going right to him, you know, it needs work. So, but
I reiterate, the biggest stat that I harp on is the days on market with a price reduction. That's probably the biggest, and I literally say it to them, I'm like, you can either be on the market for 14 days or this pain can go on for 132. If you and I both do our work all up front, hopefully this pain only goes on for a weekend, because it is not fun to have your house on the market.
Do you withdraw and relist at a lower price, or do you drop the price?
It depends on if it's significant.
And how much time?
Right.
Fair.
Who else has questions? Anybody? Are you seeing how, one of the things I'm getting, what I'm hearing is they're very intentional with how they speak to their clients. Very intentional. They do the research. You know, Katie's going in with a strategy, as are Reagan and Madeline and Nina. It's not just, oh, I'm going to go on a listing appointment, I'm going to try to get it. they have already done the research, and when they go in, they can have these conversations and get the listings. And like you said, buyers are taking a little bit more time. If you show a buyer a house that is perfect, are they moving? Yeah. So it's like 2008 all over again.
Yeah.
It's
Same
2008
thing
all over.
happened.
The same thing happened
Same
when the
thing
banks
happened.
came.
Was there
Their house
more, was there
didn't show
more
right.
inventory up there? Or up there, back then?
Yes.
Yes, there was more inventory and it sat. Days on market was like 200 days.
Unless
Yeah,
you
so
were
you
great.
had to be the beauty queen, because when you're saying they want turnkey, that was 2008. The conversation with the seller was, I need you to do this, this, and this to your house, and I need you to reduce it $25,000. That's not a fun conversation to have. However, you had to have it to get the houses sold, or else they sat on the market forever.
Yeah, and sellers, then it got to the point they were chasing the market because the prices kept dropping.
Right. And so
That's no fun either.
No. So being, it's like being the doctor with bad news. Would you want the doctor to tell you the truth? Or do you want them to fudge and not tell you the truth?
You want the truth.
I tell people I'd rather disappoint them up front than lead them down this long journey and waste their time and money and disappoint them.
Right.
And they respect that.
Yeah.
That's
Chris.
a script.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say, actually, if I were thinking back, it reminds me closer of the second half of 2007. So 2008 was like the Wild West, when we went into 2008. 2007, it was kind of like everybody was high off of the last couple of years of things going, and even the beginning of 2007 was kind of buzzsaw. And then somewhere right in the second half, when you got into
September
July,
2008.
it was like, okay, we were seeing the longer days on the market, and we were having conversations about price reductions, but they were smaller.
Right.
And then when we hit 2008, it was like, okay, now I need you to take, triple what I told you before in terms of a price reduction. So it
So
has a lot of
did you have houses
similarities.
that were still on the market from that first
yeah.
half of in the end of 2007?
From in 2007, yeah, you just had to go in and get the price reduction. And so you had to be able to have that conversation. But the price reductions were smaller, but the sellers were still resistant, because the first half of 2007 was kind of like, 2006 to 2007, it was still kind of moving.
Right.
It was more of a neutral market, and then 2007 it just started to shift from being more of a neutral kind of, even kill with days on market and inventory. And in 2007, you just kind of saw the inventory starting to creep up and the price reduction starting to happen.
And it was really bad if you had just given birth to twins. And you were at home and you were watching the news and you're like, oh my God, I gotta get back to work. I was like, I can't sit here anymore.
Did you do more pre-qualifying on the phone? Because I got to the point, are you motivated to sell your house? Can you afford to sell your house? Because some
That was another question back then. That was a huge question
No, I
back
probably
then.
should have done more pre-qual on the phone as opposed to going out there and realizing it could.
Yeah, I finally got tired of it, so I did it. I actually bold had a pre-qualification.
I'm not a real estate agent. I work with a Moto, and I think it's interesting because what y'all are saying, and then what we see on our end, because we're taking photographs of listings that are going on to the market, right? So I've been averaging 30-ish shoots a day, and I have not gone. The only time I'm going below is if I have a photographer on vacation. So it's interesting that you're saying that, because I feel like the inventory is...
It's increasing.
Right, because I'm seeing that. It's like the inventory is going in.
It is.
And so if you're feeling it and I'm seeing it and I'm just a little, I'm not the 44,000 listings or whatever we saw in the stats the other day. That's what's happening, because we're taking pictures, so those are going out.
Question is how many
by the day.
How many of them are getting price reductions?
Correct, and
2
that's
weeks
the part,
later?
right?
Well,
And then, so
our
they're
stat
going
was
out, and I guess
50%
coming back
fail.
down.
Yeah, 50% fail.
50% fail.
Yeah.
What is
So the good thing is you get paid regardless.
Right.
No, right, I know, but it's
That's
like the
right.
inventory is here, it's coming, and then that's the part of, you guys are telling me then what's happening to that inventory. It's really interesting to
Would you
watch.
say that because you are intentional with talking to your sellers when you have listings, that you don't have a higher fail rate than the norm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jenna?
necessarily like clients that are basically like if you're out at a party and someone's like, so tell me how's the market? I guess what are you responding to that right now? Or is it the same regardless?
No, I say that we thought the market was going to shift. It currently is not shifting because we believe interest rates are going to be held, which is certainly helping. And then I remind them that when people buy and sell houses, how much money goes back into the economy. I'm like, because when you move to a new house, you don't even want to take your old drinking glasses. When you go to a new house, you want everything new in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Like all your old stuff are like, and young people today don't want your stuff.
Oh, that's for sure.
So the amount of spearheading that goes on. So I remind them of that. I say that we think it's going to hold. However, though, I do tell them that people do have to get much more realistic in their pricing because the buyers are a lot more cautionary in terms of that prices have gotten too high.
And buyers are very educated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that to like potential buyers or sellers, you're saying the same thing?
And I also say, I was at a conference last week, and the biggest thing is you have to remember, there is so much information out there, and there's so much information that people can get. They have access to FMLS or whatever. So really, what do you provide that they can't have? You got to really think about that. Well, the truth is, what we tell them we provide them houses that are not on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our end with them because we absolutely do find them homes that are not available on the market. And at the end of the day, remember, people want what they can't have.
Mm-hmm. Now I know who to go to find a house in this place. My first one. Courtney.
So I'm having a lot of, I don't know if it's like the age range. I don't know. But it's just really odd that I have two people, actually three, in the last probably 2 weeks. And all three families have all considered Zillow. And they're really interested in, I feel like that's who I'm going up against in my listing appointment. And it's just really interesting because they're wanting to basically have their home sold with no showings or, just having Zillow or whomever not take over their contingency so that they don't have to use a contingency in order to buy, then to sell. What are y'all saying during your listing appointments on, obviously I don't like slamming competitors, but if you have any insight of what that would look like, that would be great. And by the way, all three of these people, it's just interesting to me. They're all in their 50s, going into their 60s, and they're all looking to downsize. And they just don't want to fool with, I'm having to get Curbio involved with some of these because they don't want to do the updates. Anyway.
What kind of do they engage in conversation with you to help you uncover, is it they don't want to do any work? They don't, is it timing? You said some of them for the down payment.
Like Madeline said, a lot of them don't have a strong plan B.
Okay.
Because they don't truly know exactly where they're going next, and they're okay with possibly renting to figure out what's next for them. But they need to go ahead and sell. Two of them are kind of in tight situations.
I have not had to go up against Zillow or any of them at all, so I can't speak a whole lot to it other than that the bottom line is you have to probably figure out at the end of the day the money.
Yeah. And it's interesting, these people are in like the 600s, so you're kind of like...
That's what one of mine was too. And
Yeah.
I said to the guy, I said,
What's the rush?
did you talk to an agent that was on your side to let you know what your house was worth? He said, I don't care because I know I'm getting 600 and I can pick my closing date.
Yeah, literally.
I was like,
that's my
oh,
guy.
that's crazy.
How much did
Is that what a Zillow price?
For my client, they were gonna list for $485. She said they took $30,000 off the price, hit him for $35,000 in repairs, and charged $7.5 in commission.
And he agreed to
Yeah, a lot of people don't know they're gonna charge them for those.
Because they say 1%, but then all the fees, the commission's 1%, but then all the fees actually add up to higher than 6%. So people don't understand.
So, let me just tell you, let me just tell you one thing. I'm hoping next week at team meeting to bring in an iBuyer specialist. So we'll send out an email. He used to work for Open Door, I believe, so I'm working with him to come in to talk about this scenario. Chris, what are you going to say?
So there's a couple things, because I actually just went through this. I had buyers who bought with me, and they sold to iBuyers. And not only that, but I've been in conversation with Open Door because at a seminar you can actually leverage the iBuyer, because what can happen is you can actually walk into your listing appointment and say, hey, this is what we can get if we go on the market. If you want to not fool with that and sell, we can sell to the iBuyer, and the iBuyer, you basically, there's a way to work out the commission where you get your part of the commission. So that exists.
So if you own the listing?
No,
You're
your
a listing
client.
agent and you're walking in and you can orchestrate the whole thing. Essentially, they will pay you a referral fee. So they will pay you a referral fee, and you can charge your client a small fee. To basically make it add up to be what it is. But if you're going into the listing appointment, like I had someone who just contacted me about that, who's got a listing we're looking at putting on the market. And the thing that I told him is they look at what the automated price is, but a lot of times they do not tell them what all the fees are.
Right,
They're not sure what all the fees are. So if you explain to them, because a lot of times they think they're going to get that price and no commission is going to be involved. And if you explain to them that, yeah, first of all, that's what they tell you before they actually see the house. But you've got two tiers to go through. One, you've got the tier of if your house needs repairs, they're going to deduct from that. And then also because it's automated what they send you. And then the second thing is they're going to charge you basically a commission plus a fee on top of that. And it's going to be at a discount anyway, because they're looking basically, their strategy is to do volume.
Right.
And they're going to take 2 to 3% off the price of the house that they could sell it for on the market, because they're looking to do volume. So it starts at 2 to 3% less. Then they tack on the commission. Then they tack on a fee. And then they deduct, whatever is necessary for the property to do repairs. So if you understand that going in and you can explain that to them before they go down that path, you'll have people who don't want to deal with that. In fact, in my conversation with Open Door, one of the main guys, what he said to me was, we do 2 out of 7. So there are 5, I think it was 2 out of 9, I think. So there's 7 sellers that they can't do business with. They also have a ceiling.
Right, on price, up to 5 or something.
So they're
It's
not going
reducing
over.
now.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not, and what they're starting to see is longer days on market.
Right.
So they're moving to a referral. Yeah.
Right.
So they're moving to a referral plan.
To piggyback on that, there's a house 2 doors down from me who they sold to Open Door. They sold it to Open Door for $208. Open Door came in, slapped some paint on the walls. That wasn't even a good job. It looks like
Open Door doesn't have good renos.
Yeah, it looks like, somebody moved out an apartment and they just painted over what was already there. And then they put it back on the market for $230, and it's been sitting there for 3 months.
And then every week they're going to drop it by $1,000 or $2,000 because that's what Open Door does.
Right.
Yeah,
Open Door offer pad.
Every week it drops it by $1,000, and I'm like,
yeah, I just went through this. One of my, they wanted to look at another house, and they asked me for their, what I thought they would list for. And what I told them, I go, you're going to be around 425, but what I've noticed in all the houses in your neighborhood is their square footage is different than their taxes, which means they have somebody coming in there re-looking at their square footage, probably for the finished basement. I said, okay, what do you have? And he goes, well, we have, Zillow came in at 424, right? And I said, all this stuff. I said, okay, do 2 things. Go hire D.S. Murphy and get an appraisal. And 2, you're not going to sell to Zillow, I'll buy it for that price. You can't do it, but I mean, if I know the neighborhood and everything, I was like, I'll match whatever Zillow price gives you because I know what's going to happen. D.S. Murphy came in at 522. And they came in there and they increased the square footage. Zillow, when they finally said, yes, I agree, the next step, they come in and do their own appraiser. They reduce the square footage. Therefore, their price only went to 385 now, plus the fees. And I looked at them honestly, I said, I'll buy this from you. I don't have a problem with it. Right now, cash is closed. And they, of course, they just smiled, we're gonna list it at 500. But they're doing the repairs now. They didn't want to do the repairs before, but once they saw that appraisal and what they could get, they're like, okay, I'm gonna reach for that. Therefore, I'm gonna go and do the repairs, fix the shower, get the things out and get ready to do it in order to sell to do it. But I think in any case, when these people offer it, if you think it's a good deal, that you can turn around and put it back on the market, you really do. There are people out there with money that will go in there and buy it. You can call me up.
appraisal also helps when you think that buyers want to overprice it and they're willing to do an appraisal. Like my friends whose feelings I did not want to hurt, they wanted it to start with a 2. It was not going to start with a 2. That one is the one we listed at 175 and it's one under contract for 185. it took an appraisal to convince them. So.
I have a good question for you guys. What are you saying on appraisals right now in general?
A lot of them just hit that number, and I thought last year I had a lot that they were a little bit above. So I'm wondering, are they really pushing it to hit at that exact number, or am I just getting a bunch of appraisers that are like, yeah, sure, it's at least what it's under contract for?
We've been appraising. We really haven't had any problems with appraisals.
I haven't seen them go over.
I've been hearing stories that things are not appraising.
Really?
It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It is. We haven't gotten there yet.
I mean, it's 5 appraise, 1 doesn't.
Right.
6 appraise, 1 doesn't. But if you don't meet the appraiser over there, or you don't get them comps, and if you are the buyer's agent, and you know your folks wanted to pay more, you sure as heck better make sure someone gets some numbers somewhere.
And if you're the listing agent, you meet them over there, and if you had 10 offers, the appraiser gets the top copy of the offers to support the price. Yeah? Yeah. Hey, it was up for 500 and we got 10 offers and the top offer was 520. Let the appraiser see that this is valued, clients see the value.
Our policy on our team is that when the appraiser calls, it is absolutely yes, how can we accommodate? Whatever you need, what can we make it easiest for you?
You bet.
Would you like steak? Do you like red or white?
Oh, yeah.
It is whatever they need.
Although the first question I do ask an appraiser is, do you mind me asking, where do you live? Because I had an East Cobb listing a couple of years ago and I always ask that question, and he lived in Athens, Georgia. And I said, oh, that's awesome, UGA. Had a conversation about UGA. And then I said, how often do you appraise in East Cobb? He said, I don't. And I said, do you mind if I meet you over there? He said, that'd be great, and bring me your comps.
Yeah, a lot of them appreciate it.
Yeah, some of them don't.
About it.
And if they don't, you better back off real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You give it to them, you go about your business.
Right.
I've already prepped my sellers of exactly every scenario. That if I get Bob from Winder to come appraise in Buckhead, he already has a preconceived notion before he drives in of who the heck would pay all this money for all this property. And you already have a battle.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah, you do.
They know it better.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
So would you switch appraisers then? Like, so if you got somebody coming down from, like you said, from Winder to Buckhead.
Well, remember the bank is ordering
The lender is
appraisers.
ordering.
The lender is ordering the appraisers.
You won't even get their information if it's VA.
Oh yeah, I always meet them. Bring a bottle of water if it's the summertime. I mean, I've had a couple appraisers want the homeowner to be there to tell them. I was astounded to tell them, what upgrades have you done in the house? Wow, so.
Oh, I had a girl that met me in Buckhead, and she didn't know anything about it. And she said, oh, I brought my dog. This was the appraiser, and we got in the house, and she said, will you help me measure?
Will you help me measure?
And she said, will you help me measure? And she goes, well, how much square footage do you think is down here? I'm like, well, hell, if you're asking me. At least 900 square feet. I think it was like 300. I was like,
That is hilarious.
Anybody else have any questions for this fabulous panel? Yes.
Before you all mentioned that sometimes you either lower the price or either just withdraw it and then bring it back at a different price. What's the perk of doing that?
it repopulates new into the system.
Got a new number.
Okay.
It's not 34 days on the market, it's 0 days on the market.
And depending how long it is, you've got a new pool of buyers out there in the market. So
And
you
it
see
shows
the
up on
listing number.
everybody's hot list and everything.
As
the next
new.
day.
And so
That's
if you-
$25.
Yeah, if you have agents that aren't familiar with looking at the history, they'll think it's a brand new listing.
If it's a very important price break, like if you're going down to whatever,
$825 to $799. If you're doing a $5,000 reduction,
no.
When I relisted it, this one that I did a different first picture as well, so that people really did think it was a new listing.
Also
Still gonna help.
Also swap out your comment. Shockingly, if you switch out your comments too, it kind of refreshes things as well.
Move photos around.
Anybody else? Give you some good tips?
Good ideas.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you.
No, I was there.
Oh, you were?
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over.